Fine Gael, and if and when they sort out something, Fine Gael will need the support of a number of independent TDs. And this means that our first guest could help decide who will be our next Taoiseach. Please welcome Shane Ross. Eight weeks in one day, huh?
It's terrible.
Yeah.
It's terrible, yeah.
What happened today now, for example?
Well, I don't know because I'm not at the talks, but I know what I heard on the news. And it appears that Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael have broken down, in fact, in talks because they can't agree about water. And they've adjourned until Monday evening, which is another delay, where they can't meet tonight and tomorrow. I don't understand. And I presume they're trying to look for a solution in back channels. But it's very, very sticky, it's very odd, and it's very strange that they haven't been able to reach an agreement for 8 weeks.
So all of these talks are aiming towards a Fine Gael minority government?
That's correct, yeah.
Now, can you give us the bluffer's non-primetime guide to what will happen if there's a minority government?
Well, there's 158 TDs, and you have to take away one for the Ceann Comhairle. And then if say, Fianna Fáil abstain, which is the objective of these talks, you get down to, what's 157 minus 43? 114.
Yes.
And then you have, Enda Kenny, if he's going to be the nominee for Taoiseach, has to get at least 57 votes.
Okay.
If 57 all, it'd be a draw. So 58 is the magic number.
Right.
And that's what they're aiming to get.
So
and
they have 50 Fine Gael TDs?
Yeah, they've got 50 Fine Gael TDs. They've got one, which is Michael Lowry,
yes,
to add to that, who's pledged to voting for them. They've got Catherine Zappone, who's also pledged to voting for them. And they need to be absolutely certain, if all the other TDs voted against, that they would get 58. They need 6 more.
Yeah. And the Independent Alliance, which you're part of,
yes,
have 6 TDs.
The Independent Alliance, quite coincidentally.
What a lovely fit. What a lovely fit.
It's a very strange coincidence.
Yes.
And we are therefore, the Independent Alliance, therefore, is obviously in a key and pivotal position.
Who are you?
I'll tell you who they are. There is Michael Fitzmaurice from Roscommon, Galway. There's Finian McGrath from Dublin North. There's John Halligan from Waterford. There's Sean Canny from Tuam. And there's Boxer Moran from Athlone. So there's 6 of us from very, very different areas, very different backgrounds, who actually are looking at the possibilities of going into government.
Who's in charge?
Well, we're all equals. You know that. That's always the case. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. Well, of course it's true. We're all equals. We've all come together on a common platform.
How long have you been together?
Well, about 2 were elected. 2 new ones were elected. Boxer Moran and Sean Canny were elected recently. But before that, there were 5 of us. About a year and a half, something like that, or a bit less.
And which of the 5 then spoke most often in the Dáil?
We don't count things like that.
Oh, yes, you do.
We don't. I think we all spoke on our own subjects very vociferously.
OK, as a grouping then, what do you want?
What we did was we issued a charter which established 10 principles which we were determined to pursue as a group. We were not going to be a political party. We were absolutely determined we would not have a party whip. We think the party whip was one of the worst things about the last government, because what happened was, of course, everything was rammed through. There was no free talk. There was no freedom of speech, really. There were guillotines, and the Dáil was a bit of a joke. So we determined that we wouldn't have a whip of any sort, and that's a core principle which we adhere to. We are particularly keen on various issues. I'll give you one or two of them. Irish life, I think, Irish political life and Irish life is controlled by insiders. That's the kind of theme on which we're based. And we're determined to change that. We're not going to be extreme on either side, but we're determined to see that, say, state appointments to quangos, where people are appointed because they're friends of people in this country. There's a kind of cancer which is...
So that will become more transparent?
No, it would. The objective there is to end ministerial control. What's happening here is that ministers are putting their powers into positions. Fianna Fáil, Fine Gael and Labour, just as bad, have been doing this since the foundation state. The judiciary, the same thing.
So that's all very admirable.
Yeah.
But your colleague, John Halligan, was on the News at 1 yesterday.
Yes.
He wants a university hospital for the South East.
Yes.
And he said if he doesn't get that he won't vote for Fine Gael.
Yes. I think he said absolutely specifically that is a university for the South East.
Yes.
He is very, very strong, as is Finian McGrath, on the whole health issue.
Okay.
That's something they hold utterly sacred.
I just want to tease that out a bit.
Yeah.
So are you like the Musketeers all for one and one for all?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
We would support each other in all our endeavours in this way. Yeah.
So if one of your needs aren't met, then it's all of your needs aren't met.
No, it's not quite. It's not quite as simple as that.
Well, that's my understanding of all for one and one for all.
Yeah, but we are negotiating.
Okay.
If we get into a situation like
But
this.
he said quite specifically that if he doesn't get a university hospital for the South East, he will not vote for Fine Gael.
And this is not a pork barrel demand. This is a health demand, and we're demanding very specifically health issues should be addressed in a way which saves lives. His problem there is a national problem. What we've got there is lives being lost as a result, not just of a lack of a cardiac unit in Waterford, but in other areas of the country. And that issue must be addressed.
That's what people would say. What about the other areas of the country?
Yes. That's the whole point you're making. John doesn't say
and if it is decided that other areas of the country should be prioritised over the South East, well then John Halligan isn't going to support a Fine Gael government.
There is no question of John Halligan's deal, if he gets a deal for health in the country, making it impossible for people to suffer in other areas of the country as a result of what happens in Waterford. What he's looking for is...
No, we leave it there. What about you?
Yeah.
Say you campaigned to get the Garda station in Stepside reopened.
Absolutely.
Would that be a deal breaker for you?
I'll tell you what we've got there. It's a similar situation. In our charter on crime, we have specifically demanded that Garda stations be opened where burglaries and where crime has increased since. That is very, very important to us. Stepaside is one of those, but it's only one of those.
Because there were 140 Garda stations closed.
Correct.
I think the problem for people watching tonight is that, and people who voted for you, you campaigned to get, one of your campaign issues was to get Stepaside Garda station reopened. If that doesn't happen, they're going to be disappointed.
Well, of course they are.
Yeah.
But I made it it's one of the first things on my agenda, that those Garda stations must reopen if burglaries, if other issues, if crime has increased in those areas.
Okay. Is that a deal breaker for you?
Deal breaker, I don't want to put down red line issues.
Okay.
And we're not
John
doing
Halligan did.
We're not doing that publicly. We're saying these are very, very important indeed. Yeah.
I suppose people have said that this is auction politics, and you've been critical of that in the past.
Yeah, sure.
So how do you sit here then and talk to me? And
I've said that I haven't said anything is a red line for me, right?
But it is for one of your colleagues.
I've specifically said that we go in with these very, very important issues on cronyism, on Garda stations, on things like that, and we will negotiate on them. Now, we haven't got that many, we've only got 10.
OK, do you think John Halligan will change his mind then?
I don't know what John Halligan is going to do today or tomorrow, but I know that it's the issue about which he feels utterly and strongest.
OK. And you wrote in the Sunday Independent after the election that Enda Kenny was a political corpse.
Yeah. That's correct.
Have you changed your mind about that?
Thank you for reminding me about that. I wrote that in the Sunday Independent, and I said, it was not something which I would write again in a hurry, because I think it was insensitive, and it probably wasn't in very good taste. But in politics, you have to remember, in politics, we say things about each other in rather colourful metaphors, and I didn't really expect it to get quite the reaction it did get. Other people have called Enda Kenny, what have they said? They said he's a lame duck, and that seems to be all right. But I think it was the word corpse, and if it was insensitive, I'm sorry, I don't want to do that.
And of course, you've been love-bombed by Fine Gael since.
We have, We've had, the one person who hasn't said anything to me about the political corpse thing is Enda. Enda never said anything at all. He said lots of other things to me. But
do you think people who voted for you would like to see you in bed with Fine Gael?
I think there's a real problem about that. I don't think they would. I think it would be very, very difficult for me to vote for either Fianna Fáil or Fine Gael, because obviously those people who voted for me to say very, very different things. And that's why an awful large number of the independents have actually gone and voted, have decided not to participate at all in the government talks or the talks to form a government. We in the Independent Alliance have taken the view that it's our responsibility to step up to the plate and talk to everybody who will talk to us about the possible formation of government. That doesn't mean that we are going to take the jump. But
that brings me on to my next question. So, talks are going to start up again on Monday.
Yes.
So, if at some stage next week there's white smoke, and Michael McGrath and Michael Noonan come skipping out across Front Square in Trinity holding hands.
Yeah.
We love each other, we love each other.
Yeah.
And then it's up to you, isn't it, then?
That's right, yeah.
So, do you have to rubber stamp that union?
We won't be rubber stamping anything.
No.
No, we won't. What we've said is we will talk to the parties after they've reached an agreement. Certainly we will, but we have to see what the union is like before we decide what stance we take on it. And that's what we're going to do. We're going to look at it and say, look, does it go for 3 years, which we've asked for already? Does it fulfil certain issues? Does it actually answer some of our queries, or do we have to negotiate further? Yeah. My guess is that what will happen will be we'll look at that. There will be changes probably which we'd like to see on that, and then we will have to agree with Fine Gael other issues which we have not yet addressed, which are in our charter.
You're placing yourselves in a very dangerous position, aren't you?
Yes.
Because if they agree on something, right, then it comes to you and you don't agree.
Yeah, sure.
You will be seen then as the grouping that caused another election. And nobody wants to be blamed for that.
I don't think we'll be seen as that if we're constructive. I mean, we want to go into this in a very constructive way and to fulfil the mandate which we got. And what we've got to do is make sure that the mandate which you talked about there, which makes it so difficult to go into government with either Fianna Fáil or Fine Gael, is fulfilled. And we're not going to go into government unless we foresee them as utterly and totally changed and prepared to change Irish politics. That's our mission.
Would another election be the worst thing ever? Like,
No.
I saw a letter to the Examiner today, and they were saying, right, it's going to cost us, the taxpayer, 40 million.
Yeah, that's right.
But they're saying dealing with people like you could cost us 13 billion.
Well, that was completely untrue.
Yeah.
That was something which nobody can actually work out at all. That was a headline in the Sunday newspaper last week. And
Your Sunday newspaper?
Yes, it was, and the one for which I write.
Yes.
But nobody can fathom where they got the 13 billion for.
It was made up.
The only demands which...
Can you not have a word with the people in the Sunday Indo to say, you know...
We are totally independent. I just write a column for them, and they don't interfere with what I write, and I don't interfere with what they write. No, certainly, they can write that.
You were the first person to be elected.
Yeah.
That must have been a relief and very gratifying for you and your team.
Well, the counters were very good and very quick indeed.
Right,
that's what happened. And we had a very small field. But it was a great feeling. Yeah, it was a few weeks ago now, and there was a great feeling.
And your son and daughter, what are their names?
Hugh and Rebecca.
They canvassed for you?
They canvassed for me, yeah, they did. Rebecca and Hugh canvassed me very assiduously, in fact, over the 3 weeks. Then, not very interested in politics. They didn't really know an awful lot about what I stood for, but they did a very, very good job on it, in fact, you know.
And did anybody say anything interesting to them on the doorstep?
Well, Rebecca, my daughter, was on the doorstep one evening, and someone said they didn't know she was my daughter. Right. And they said, "Oh, you're canvassing for Shane Ross. Don't like him very much." And she said, "Oh, why not?" She said, "Well, his marriage is breaking up, you know." And she said, "Well, I think I ought to know if his marriage is breaking up. I'm his daughter."
Your marriage isn't breaking up.
Yeah, my marriage wasn't breaking up. It hasn't broken up. No, it wasn't breaking up that night as well. So that was, that was strange. Yeah, and
because Ruth's here, you better just clarify that.
Yeah, no, she's just over there. That's right.
Everything's fine, yeah.
She's here to keep an eye on what I say. Yeah, that's right. But she had they were great. They were fantastic.
I remember Ruth because she lived across the road from me in Kildare in the Deanery.
Yes.
It was the biggest house in the town.
Yes.
And the other thing was, she used to present Poporama on...
You used to steal apples from her orchard.
I did, yes.
Yeah, that's right.
It's outside the statutes of limitations, so I'm
that's
fine.
right.
I'm fine.
Yeah.
I can't be arrested for that.
I know.
And she used to present Poporama, Ruth.
She used to present Poporama here on RTE.
How did you meet?
Many years. We met in a haze, actually, at a wedding, late at night in a wedding, and it wasn't a very successful encounter. I have to say that I thought she was very interesting. She didn't like me very much, and we did discover that we lived about 3 doors apart in Upper Leeson Street, and I think I'd moved in with her after about 3 weeks, which was quite avant-garde in those days. In fact, you know,
save on the rent.
So yeah, save on the rent, and that worked out quite well. In fact, you know.
Yeah. And your mum's name is Ruth, was that?
Yes, that's right. Yeah.
That's a coincidence because it's not a very common name.
It's not a very common name. No, it was. Yeah, my mother's still alive. She's going to be 97.
She has an amazing story, doesn't she?
She has an extraordinary story. She's by far the most intelligent member of my entire family, which is wonderful. And she was. She's English, and she was. I suppose the highlight. She went to Cambridge, and then after she was at Cambridge, she was alive during the war, and she was selected to go to Bletchley Park, and she spent her time there breaking codes, breaking German war codes, and that was absolutely fascinating, I think. But she still refuses to talk about it. which is amazing. You know, she's got
Because
this...
she took an oath or something.
Yeah, she signed the Official Secrets Acts in 1942.
Right.
And everybody else has written books about it and talked about it. But my mother, even to this day, if you talk to her about it, and she remembers that period quite well, okay. She absolutely refuses to talk about what she was doing in Bletchley Park. She says she swore an oath there, and that was it, you know. But it's a fascinating story, and she came out of it with a lot of very, very interesting experiences, I think. Yeah.
Maybe she might come in and talk to us about them. Listen, very quick question.
Yeah.
Do you think it'll all be sorted by the end of the week, yes or no?
I think it's unlikely the way things are going.
Okay.
I mean,
and do you think there'll be an election before the end of the year?
No, I think that's unlikely as well.
Right, there you go. Shane Ross, thank you very much. Thank you.